Hello and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're out on a walk, curled up with a cup of tea, or just taking a moment for yourself. Today's episode is all about something we've all wrestled with at some point, the need to be understood by everyone.
It's such a deep part of being human, isn't it? Wanting to feel seen, heard, known. And when someone doesn't get us, our choices, our boundaries, our way of thinking, it can feel unsettling. Like maybe we've done something wrong. But the truth is, not everyone will understand. And that's okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of peace comes from realizing that being misunderstood isn't always something that needs to be fixed. It doesn't mean you've failed to explain yourself properly. Sometimes it just means you're growing in a direction someone else hasn't gone, and maybe never will.
And that's where the shift happens. When you stop chasing validation, and start finding comfort in your own clarity. In knowing your reasons, even if no one else does. Because sometimes the most grounded thing you can do is carry on without needing permission.
It's not easy, though. Especially when the people who don't understand are the ones closest to us, friends, family, people whose opinions we really value. But even then, we have to remind ourselves that our truth doesn't need universal approval to be valid.
And when you let go of needing to be constantly understood, something amazing happens. You free up all that energy. Energy that was spent explaining, defending, overthinking, and you get to use it instead to live more honestly, more lightly.
And that's when you begin to feel it, that quiet, grounded peace. It's not loud, and it doesn't always come quickly, but there's something powerful about standing in your truth, even when no one claps for it. Even when no one fully gets it.
Right? And sometimes, people not understanding you has more to do with their lens, their fears, their limits, not with your path. And trying to shrink yourself, to fit into someone else's frame of reference, it only leaves you feeling small.
And tired. Exhausted, even. Because constantly trying to explain yourself, to justify your heart, to make someone else see you, it drains you. Especially when deep down, you know they might never really understand because they are not meant to.
Exactly. And when you finally stop needing everyone to get it, you also stop resenting them for not getting it. You accept that not every connection has to come with deep understanding. Some people are just not meant to walk beside you for every part of the journey.
It's not about bitterness. It's not even about cutting people off. It's about softening the grip. Letting go of the idea that understanding equals love or approval. Sometimes, it's enough to say, I know who I am. I know why I'm doing this. And that's enough.
And that's where real self-trust comes in. When you no longer outsource your sense of peace to someone else's opinion. When your worth isn't tied to being liked or agreed with. You just are, and that's more than enough.
And it's funny, isn't it? Once you stop seeking that external understanding, you realize how much more connected you feel to yourself. Like, the noise quietens. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head, stop worrying about who's misunderstood your silence or your choices.
You start valuing your own peace more than someone else's approval. And that shift, while subtle, changes everything. Because suddenly, your decisions come from alignment, not performance. You begin to live for truth, not applause.
And that doesn't make you cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It just means you're no longer available for bending yourself out of shape to make someone else feel comfortable with who you are.
And when that pressure lifts, it feels like breathing more deeply. You realize you don't need to convince anyone to love the life you're choosing. You just need to love it yourself. Or at least trust that it's the right next step, even if others can't see the full picture yet.
Sometimes, people will misunderstand you because they haven't experienced your kind of growth. Or they are still living through a lens you've outgrown. And that's all right. They're allowed to be where they are, and you're allowed to keep going.
You don't need to prove your journey is valid. Living it with honesty is enough. Showing up with grace and integrity is enough. And knowing that, deep down, you're walking the path that makes sense to you, that's where the real peace lies.
And over time, that kind of peace becomes less fragile. It's not shaken so easily by someone's confusion or disapproval. You stop internalizing their misunderstandings as a reflection of your value. Instead, you recognize them for what they are, just mismatched perspectives.
And that's when your self-worth stops being on the table for debate. You no longer feel the need to argue your choices or over-explain your boundaries. You stop inviting people into conversations they were never ready to have. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect.
It's like you step out of the performance. You stop trying to be someone that fits every room, every expectation, every version people want you to be. You just decide to be you. Fully. Quietly. Honestly.
And even though not everyone will understand that version of you, the ones who do, they'll recognize the real you straight away. You won't have to translate yourself. You won't have to shrink. And that kind of connection, it's worth waiting for.
Because the goal was never to be understood by everyone. It was to be understood by yourself. To be able to sit with your own decisions, your own truth, and feel at peace, even when it's not reflected back to you.
And that's a kind of freedom you can't fake. It doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being whole. From knowing you're still worthy, still lovable, still enough, even when someone else doesn't quite get you.
And it's in that wholeness that you begin to make decisions differently. You choose what feels aligned, not what looks acceptable. You follow your instincts, not the crowd. And you stop waiting for permission that was never yours to need in the first place.
You also start showing up differently in conversations. You're not there to convince anymore, you're there to connect, or not. You're not performing, you're being. And that's what makes room for real presence, for real peace.
And the irony is, the more you accept that you don't need to be understood by everyone, the more at ease you become around people. You don't carry that inner tension. You don't walk into a room trying to prove yourself. You just exist as you are.
And that kind of ease is magnetic. It doesn't demand attention, it doesn't beg for agreement, it just quietly says, this is who I am. And some people will lean in. Others won't. But either way, you remain steady.
Because you've learned something really important, your peace isn't up for negotiation. And that changes everything. How you speak. How you listen. How you move through the world. It's not about being understood. It's about being true.
And being true to yourself means allowing space for difference. You can honor your truth without needing to silence someone else's. You can walk your path without dragging others onto it. That quiet confidence, it gives others permission to be themselves too.
Exactly. You're not trying to convert anyone. You're just living your life with integrity. And those who resonate will find you, effortlessly. Not because you shaped yourself to be found, but because you stood still long enough in your truth for them to recognize it.
And along the way, you might lose people. Or confuse them. Or even disappoint them. But you'll gain something far more important, you'll gain yourself. Your energy, your clarity, your voice. And that's not a loss. That's a return.
It's a return to something steady, something quiet. That internal knowing that doesn't shout, but doesn't waver either. And it lets you walk into every room without needing to be the version of yourself that makes others comfortable.
Because the truth is, you're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be authentic. To live with intention. To honor your heart, even when it beats to a rhythm no one else quite recognizes.
And when you reach that place, where being seen is lovely but not required, you've found something unshakable. Something that doesn't depend on applause, or agreement, or being got. You've found peace. And that peace is yours to keep.
So if you're walking through a season where not everyone understands you, your choices, your voice, your growth, please know this. that doesn't make your path any less valid. Understanding isn't a requirement for worth.
And peace doesn't always come from being seen by others. Sometimes, it comes from seeing yourself clearly. From standing gently in your truth and trusting it's enough, even if no one else claps for it.
We hope today's episode reminded you that it's okay to stop chasing approval. That your value isn't based on how well people comprehend your journey. And that real peace often arrives the moment you stop needing to explain yourself.
Thank you for spending this time with us. As always, we're so grateful to hold space for these quiet, honest conversations.
You've been listening to the British Accent Podcast. Wherever you are today, we hope you carry your truth with calm confidence, and let go of the need to be understood by everyone.
Take care of yourself. We'll speak to you next time.